All right, part 2 for ArrayList review. We're just working our way through these notes and the ArrayList notes for aptest.java, and we just removed the student. And I probably should I made a visual of this quick for you where this is what the array look like, and then we removed position 3, which was the bumpkin object. So now we have Cole, Adam, Zach, right? So in this next part, we need to get the Zach object. So we're going to get position 2 and then alter it and then put it back. So basically, we're going to do a get and a set. So we're going to do student, and oftentimes I just call it temp. And then I'm going to do the students list dot get Zach, which was at position 2. Okay, so now I have the Zach object, and then that is a student. So I can type temp dot set. I think we want to set the name to be the actual right name. So I think hopefully that's spelled right. Still might not be right. I'm not all that smart, but you're going to set the name to Farrell. Okay, and then we're going to put it back. So at this point, I would probably do students dot set. Okay, and set, you have to say what position you want to set, which is 2, and what do we want to set it with, which is this updated student deal. So now that object that was there, it's still pretty much the same student, but we just changed the name to be the actual Farrell name. All right, next up, to create an enhanced for loop that displays the names. Okay, and these loops at the end here, this is really what you gotta know for the AP test. So having these parts in your notes will be a good good reference for you when you do the free response questions. Okay, so the idea is an enhanced for loop. You do for, and then you want to do whatever is in the array list. So we don't have strings, we actually have students. So I'm going to call it student, or S. Maybe let's call it S to be simple. And it's going to pull from the array list of students. So you do the type of object that is in there, colon, and then the name of the array you're drawing from. So we are drawing from the students array. Okay, and it'd be tempting just to system out print S, right? Just print out the student, but we don't necessarily have like a two-string method for student. So I think if we ran this, it'll probably just do memory locations. If I actually do it here quick, right, is what it's printing. That's the default two-string. So if we want to do the names, then we actually have to take the object and call its dot get name method. Okay, and so that's where you can look back at. If I open up student here for a second, right, we can look back at student and it has a get name method. So to get access to this name, we have to call the get name method. So currently we just get the student, and then that's an object, and we call get name on that. And I think that's where we get sort of confused, is the idea that this array list has objects, which are students, and then you can call different methods on that. All right, and that's what you're going to need to do in these other parts down here also. Okay, so hopefully, again, you had a chance to try this. This is the bunch of cars, right? So they are car objects. So I should probably open that up, that have a type and an MPG. Okay, and so we're going to assume that it's been populated, and here we want to do the average MPG for all the car objects that are Honda cars, right? Probably Mr. Westfall's favorite type, maybe Toyota, it's hard to say. But at any rate, I'm going to do a total, like total MPG, and I also have to do a count, how many are actually Hondas. So I need both of those things. And then I'm going to loop through. So I'll do a non-enhanced for loop here just to show you what that looks like. So we start at 0, go less than the size, right? Because the index always go less than. They go from like 0 to 1 less than the size, right? And so then we just get it. So I'm going to do car c equals cars dot get. So I get them one at a time. The eat in I changes each time, so it gets the ith car. Okay, and again, that's done for you in an enhanced for loop. So you don't have to do that call at all in an enhanced for loop, which is why they're kind of nice. But since we're doing a regular one, we call get. Now we have the car, much like the last question. I want to see, like, is it a Honda? So I'm going to do an if, and I'm not going to do car dot equals Honda because I'm checking at this point, I'm checking is a car object equal to a string, and that's not right. I want to check if the car's type is equal to Honda. So I have to call c.get type and then check if that is equal to Honda. Right? And if it is, I want to plus plus the count. I want to update the total. So then I have to do the get the GPA or MPG, sorry, from the car. Sorry if I said GPA before, but the MPG. Okay, and then once we're done, now I just want to return the average, or not return, I guess I'm just going to sys out print the average, which is the total divided by count. That'll be the average for all the Hondas that we counted. All right, so again, knowing just this part right here is so important that you loop 0 less than the size and be able to get an object and then call some methods on that object like get type or get MPG. Right, and that's what, again, these other parts down here are asking you to do. Okay, again, please try these first before checking your answers. So all that's different on this one really is when you remove them, you want to pretty much loop backwards. All right, otherwise the index won't match the array anymore. You'll kind of skip over it. So I'm not sure if I can demo this here, but if I was looping through here, this is the students again, and I was to eliminate Adam, so I would go here we go, would go at 0. And then if we were to eliminate Adam when I is 1, in the loop, I will go plus plus and move on down to be 2, right? So if you moved I when it was 1, then it'll move to 2, but it'll essentially skip Zach because once you remove Adam, Zach will be now at index 1 and will have gotten skipped because he'll be at 1 and I will be now at 2, and so we'll just skip over Zach. So I think the easiest way to handle this problem is anytime you remove an element, you can go minus minus I, or I think an easy route is just to move backwards. That way, if you remove it, I is already moving backwards by default, so then you're okay. So I think that's what I'm going to do in my code is actually just loop backwards and remove any ones where the MPG is not greater than 12. So let's see, greater than must have MPG greater than 12. So if it was less than or equal to 12, then it would be no good. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing a million times, right? In I equals 0, I is less than cars dot size. Oops, that's not the right one. Plus plus I, and I'm going, oh no, actually I'm doing that wrong. I want to go backwards. So I want to do from cars dot size minus 1 because of the 0 element. And I want to keep going while I is greater than or equal to 0. And loop all the way backwards. So let's say there was 5 elements. We'd want to list loop 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And I want to go minus minus I. And same thing, I'm going to get it. So I'm going to call car c equals cars dot get. I'm getting the ith one. And then if that MPG is not greater than 12, so if the c dot get MPG is less than or equal to 12, then it's no good. Then I'm just going to call cars dot remove. We have to specify which one we want to remove, which in this case is the ith car. So we're just looping backwards and checking the ith one. If its MPG is bad, we remove it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, last one. This one is pretty tricky. And what makes this one super tricky is each one of these is a student. All right, we have a bunch of seniors here, right? And we want to see how many have a Ford car. So we're going to have to loop through one student at a time. So it's going to be similar to these other for loops. But what's different is the student has an object variable called car that is set to default as null. I should do it this way. Sorry, car equals null. And so they might have a car, like they might later on call set car and actually have a car. And so basically, if the car type is a Ford, we want to increase our count. Okay, so we're going to loop through the students, get their car, and if that car is Ford, or the type of car is equal to Ford, we're going to increase our count. So obviously the current starts at 0. And again, hopefully you know this. You can do it enhanced or regular. Maybe I'll do the enhanced one again. So I'll do student S from seniors. So I'm going to pull from the seniors one at a time. Okay, and each thing in there is this type of object called student. All right. Oh, this must be a duplicate variable. Maybe I'll call it count2. Sorry. All right, and then so I want to get it. I don't have to call get student anymore because that's done by default in the enhanced for loop. So I have this student. But what I want to do is get its car. So I'm going to do a car temp equals s dot get car. Okay, and it I have a temp variable too, so I'll call it temp car. All right, and then if it has a type equal to Ford, so I could call if temp car dot get type equals Ford, then I want to increase the count. So I'll get the car and then see if its type, see if its type is equal to Ford, increase the count. And then the only other tricky part about this is this could be null. And so if you called get type on a null car, it would bonk out. So if you didn't get this part, no big deal. But I'm also going to add temp car not equal to null. And the type is equal to Ford, then we increase the count. So this is called that short circuit evaluation too, where if this and fails, it won't even check this back part. So we want to check to see if it's null before we call get type. So doing it this way will allow that to happen. Okay, so that's a tricky one because you got to we're getting the student one at a time, and then calling on that it's get car method. Now that we have a car object that has a type, and we want to see if that equals 4. Right, so that's pretty complex, but I think we really struggle with that idea that this doesn't have to be a string. This can be a custom object, and then you can call that object's methods, right, by looking back at the objects and looking what get and set methods it has, right? I think that is really important for the AP test, is to be able to get them one at a time, whether it's an enhanced for loop or a regular loop, and then call the methods on it from there. All right, that's it. Hopefully this helped.